We'll start with questions for Coach Barnes. PJ?
Yeah, when did you sort of know as the game's going on, like, are you, like, what's going on in your mind as after the beginning of the first quarter when you won the first war, and then they come back, and then really the second quarter, and as you keep having these scoring droughts, what's sort of going through your mind, and what are you thinking that you need to, share with your team to sort of snap out of this?
So the first scoring drought, I think it was 5 or 6 minutes in the first quarter. We started off pretty good the first 5 minutes, and then we just couldn't score. We couldn't move the ball. They were baiting us in the shots, and we were taking the shots they wanted us. We took very quick threes. We took shots when they're not guarding us. If Stanford isn't guarding you, they're not guarding you for a reason. But they literally, off of some of our cuts, they literally went like under the basket and met us at the other side. So I think that it gave us a tough time because they weren't guarding us a lot on the perimeter, and we still shot, we shot 26%, and a lot of those shots were not guarded. I thought they did a really good job of congesting the paint. When we had drivers drive deep, they had 3 or 4 people around us, and then we kicked it out, but we couldn't hit shots. So I thought we had a tough time running offense. Nothing was really working. I don't know. It was one of our worst games of the season, but credit to them because they made us play that way. So we have to get better. We just saw that's why they're number one. They're number one for a reason. They have depth. We had a tough time guarding their posts from the elbow. We had a tough time doing things that we don't typically have a tough time guarding. And I thought that we struggled today. We struggled tonight with kind of everything. I mean, it shows me our focus when we shot 64% from the free throw line. We're usually typically like amongst the top in the Pac-12 at free throws. So all those little things mattered. I mean, we got crushed on the boards. Although we did a really good job offensive rebounding, we beat them on offensive boards, but defensive boards, we got killed. They had more defensive rebounds than we had total rebounds. And some of that skewed because we missed so many shots. So they were in position. So they had a lot of defensive rebounds because we missed shots. But we just struggled. We defended the 3 better in the second half. I think we only gave up 1 or 2 threes. I think 2 threes in the second half. So that was better. But we just had a really tough time guarding them off the dribble. I thought we guarded their actions well, but just, I don't know, uncontested shots. We didn't dictate anything on defense, and that's not Arizona basketball. But credit to them because they forced us into these situations, and they made us pay for mistakes.
Troy?
Do you think that at times the aggression?
I can't hear. I can't hear.
PJ, go ahead.
Okay, you've talked before about that a top 3 team or a number 1 team is sort of the elite of the elite, and they separate themselves from the rest of the top 10. And what did you see in Stanford tonight that shows you that, because this is the first time you've played a top 10, a number 1 team.
Yeah.
What did you see from them tonight?
They don't have really any weak areas. They can shoot the 3. They can score inside. I think that, Belibi has improved inside just with her actions. So they're developing their kids. I thought that every time we overhelped or over-rotated, it was a 3. Every time we closed out short, it was a 3. We had a tough time guarding one-on-one in some actions. So I think that they just dominated most areas. They baited us in the shots, and they're very scout specific. They iced area on a lot of on balls. We had a tough time getting into driving, or forced to drive really deep and couldn't see anything. Then passed out the shooters, couldn't hit shots. So I think that they made us do things that we're not good at. And I just forced us to do uncomfortable things. I think normally we can make teams pay because we hit more shots and we get more transition buckets and we get stops. But we couldn't get stops. So I think they're number 1 because they have a lot of depth. They have a solid seven-player rotation of 7 solid kids. I mean, even Brink came off the bench and had a good game. She came off the bench, had an offensive rebound, had a post touch, like those things off the bench immediately. And I think so they have really good players. I think Haley Jones was a very tough matchup for us. I mean, we gave her 18 and 10. All these matchups, I think they dominate their matchups, especially in the post. So I think that they're number one for a reason, and they gave us a tough time. I thought they had 4 players in double digits, pretty much almost 5, because the Anna Wilson had 9, and she's 3 for 5 from 3. So they all do their job, and they do their job well. They don't do anything outside. So Believe isn't trying to shoot threes. She's not a 3-point shooter. She's not trying to shoot threes. She's going around the rim. She's getting the shots she wants and how she wants. Anna Wilson she's not really driving in a ton. She's taking her set threes and she's making them. If you look at, let's see who else. So Haley Jones, she's not a 3-point shooter, so she's not taking threes, but she's going coast to coast. She's doing all the things we knew, but then doing them well. Then she's rebounding, she's back cut, she's posting up. We just had a tough time guarding any of them one-on-one. I thought the Aerie and Kiana, I thought that matchup was pretty similar. I thought they both kind of canceled each other out. But I mean, if you look, let's see, let me see her stats. Where's she at? If I can find her. Kiana Williams. So Kiana Williams, it wasn't her night. So Kiana and Aerie, both, it wasn't their night, but it was everybody around them. So for us, those other positions, I thought Sam did a pretty good job for us. I thought Bendu did a pretty good job, but I thought everybody else struggled defensively or took bad shots. And the shots that we don't want, there's certain shots we don't want at certain times in the shot clock. And they made us take those shots and we took them. So, and I'm not happy about that. So we got to get better. I mean.
Justin?
I mean, Stanford's the number 1 ranked team, but Arizona's also a pretty good team as well. And there's high expectations for this year's team. With the way you lost today, what's the sense, or what was the players' reaction? And can you tell this loss really humbled them?
Yeah, I mean, this loss, we got punched in the mouth, and then we got slapped up and down the floor for 38 minutes. So it should hurt. It should hurt because they made us look bad. And we didn't help ourselves we didn't play the type of defense we normally play, but they played really good offense. I mean, we let them come in here. We're a pretty good defensive team. We let them come in here and shoot 46% from the floor and almost 45% from the 3. That's not okay. And then they make their free throws. Number 1 teams in the country do things like this. They shoot 25 or 28 from the free throws. That's 89%, almost 90%. So they make you pay. And then we're like, when I'm seeing us foul so much, we're out of position. We're a step behind. We're not dictating. So they're a better team right now. I feel like anybody's beatable. I felt on a good day, like they're capable of being beat. I felt like on a good day, we can beat them, but it was a bad day for us. We played very bad. But a lot of things we can control. We control how hard we box out. We didn't box out at all in the first half. And so when you, against number 1 team in the country, when you build a deficit and you have a 20-point deficit in the first half, even if the second half, it was 37-34. So when you build such a deficit, you're not going to come back. And we had to get stops and score, but we could get some stops in the second half, but we couldn't score. So that's why they're number 1. I mean, they're a better overall team than we are right now. And we had a tough time with them. So we did not look like number 6 today. And we did not play like number 6, but they played like number 1. And that's why they're number 1.
Javier?
Adia, other than the obvious difference from the game in February, there were no fans here. It was a huge crowd back in February. What else is the biggest difference between then and now between the 2 teams? Was it just like a bad day for you guys?
I think it was a bad day for us, but credit to them because they forced us into having a bad day. So they're a good team and they played well. I think they're better than they were last year. Last year, they didn't have Haley Jones. I think they're better. I think they're a little deeper. I think they have a solid 7-player rotation. And then 8 isn't – when they go 8 or 9, not as good, but I think they're solid with their 7. But I think for us at home – us getting defensive stops, it ignites our offense. We weren't able to get stops. And I think for us, without the crowd, it is harder because against a team like this, we would have sold out. We would have had 15,000 people, no doubt in my mind. And that really ignites us because then when you're rallying, when you're down by 10, I think the crowd really ignites us and rallies you to get back because I think we have the best 6th man in the country. But despite that, we have to get better. If we want to be amongst the top 10, if we want to beat number 1, you can't shoot 26% from the field. You can't shoot 24% from the 3, and you can't shoot 64% from the free throw line and beat number 1. You can beat number 11, in the Pac-12. You could be maybe a top 25 team, but you can't beat the number 1 team in the country. You have to play solid. You have to make shots. You have to limit your mistakes. I mean, I could tell you about the way of our offense. We had seven assists on 17 field goals. I mean, they had 16 assists on 24 field goals. I mean, we actually no, they usually average 20 assists, but we have to. We can't have 7 assists, 9 turnovers, and win games against number 1. So there's areas that were glaring, that were exposed, and areas that we have to get better at. So for us, it's not about like beating number 1. It's like we want to just win games. So we weren't caught up in the number 1 versus number 6, whatever. I think those numbers mean nothing until the end of the season. But right now, I mean, we have to play better. And then we can't think, but I think the challenge for me as a coach is, okay, we played bad. We need to we got to get better individually and collectively. We have to work on some things, but then you have to have amnesia, because we turn around very fast. Less than 48 hours to play another team. And to me, some of the scariest teams to play are teams that haven't won games. So if you play, I don't know the score. I think the score at ASU, I don't know the score of that game yet, but it's like, I mean, they have nothing to lose either. So we have to come back on Sunday with a different mindset, a different mentality, and we have to be another good team. Pac-12 is tough, but we had an opportunity and it slipped away. And Stanford's a good team.
Ryan?
I mean, do you have to remind your team about what happened versus Cal last year, or you just kind of assume that they can remember?
I reminded them in the locker room. But I think that it's not something for us to hang our heads, but I think this is something that we probably needed. I think us showing, where we're at and what we have to work on, because we're not good enough to just walk into a gym and assume a win. So yes, we all remember what happened against Cal on senior night. So we're not you can't take anybody lightly in our conference. And we have to remember, just like everybody guns for Stanford, because they're number 1, everybody's gunning for us because we're number 6. So we have to bring our A game and we have to play better. If we play like this, we won't win any more Pac-12 games. So we have to get better. We have to play better, and we will. But tonight was just not our night.
And you talked about not boxing out. Is that always a focus issue, or are there other problems that?
I think other problems. I think that, like Lauren's a freshman. So a habit for a typical freshman with size is you don't box out in high school, because you're tall and you're taller than everybody, so you just jump. So some of those are habits for freshman mistakes, but it was everybody. I mean, Kate, Trinity, our guards, everybody had a tough time. This is a collective thing, so some of it is a focus. But like we don't have the most athletic posts. We don't have the biggest posts. We're always going to be undersized and not as strong inside because of our personnel. So that means you have to take more pride in boxing out. And we knew that was a key coming into the game. That was a big key. That was 1, 2, and 3, the first key. And we didn't execute that area, and we didn't win the game. So that was one of the differences in the game, besides our poor offense.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
All right. We got Sam and Bendu here. Javier, go ahead.
Hey, Sam, can you just comment on what you guys can take from this? With the season's still kind of young, what can you guys take from this kind of game?
Yeah, I mean, this was the first time for me personally, I'm sure a lot of people on the team, that we've been able to have the chance to play a number 1 team in the country. So I think it was a big learning experience for us, just knowing what we have to work on. And obviously we haven't lost yet this year until today. So now we kind of really know where we need to focus on and practice and do better. So the next time when we play around again, and then also the teams before that, so we're ready for those.
Can you comment about their length and just the size they had in the paint? How difficult was that to go against them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I kind of stayed away and stayed on 3-point line, but I mean, I know when I saw my teammates going there, like they're really tall. They got good size in there, and they were all like sagging in the paint, obviously, because they didn't want Ari to drive or anybody else. So I think it was just like, it was hard to go against their length. They're baiting us into certain type of shots and stuff. So it was difficult, but we just got to learn to do better.
Okay.
Okay. PJ, go ahead.
Okay. So Sam, despite all of that, you scored 14 points. You led the team. You hit a bunch of threes, and your shot was there. You quietly sort of did your offensive thing. What was that like for you, especially when the rest of the team, you went on the scoring droughts and it's just not happening, and then you're starting to come along like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, after we got down in the deficit, I was just trying to help out the team and try and cut that lead, because obviously not one basket's going to bring back 20 points. So I was just trying to chip away at it little by little. I mean, it is great to be able to score a lot against Stanford, because they do try and bait you into take like different shots that you're not used to. So I was able to get open on the 3-point line and hit some shots. It was a good confidence boost.
Troy, go ahead.
You guys started from deep 3 of 4 to start the game, and then went on to finish 6 of 25. Was it the length of Stanford, or getting out, having them get out to the 3-point line, or just some rush shots? What did you think went wrong there?
I think we just got a little too deep sometimes. We knew they had long arms and they like to block shots, and I think they baited us into taking tough shots, and we took a lot of tough shots. In the first 5 minutes of the game, we were playing our game, and then after that we started playing their game, and I think that's what really separated us and separated them.
And then in the second quarter, you guys held Stanford to 39% shooting, but they outscored you guys 24-7. You guys shot 2 of 13 from the field. Was there just a lot of rush possessions during that stretch?
Yeah, because we know we had to get points on the board against Stanford. You can't really have scoreless quarters or scoreless droughts against them, because when they go on the run, it's they're up by 15, and that's what happened to us. We couldn't score, and then we weren't really getting stops on the defensive side, and that's not something we can do. We can't do that going forward.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys have come back from deficits before this season, double-digit deficits. You weren't able to do it today. And Adia was saying earlier in the season that, against better teams, you wouldn't be able to get away with it. So in a way, is this kind of like a wake-up call, or where you kind of say, yeah, she was right about that?
I mean, yeah, I think we kind of knew after the first game against UCLA, we knew we weren't going to be able to come against scoring deficits. I think we kind of worked on it a little bit against Colorado and then playing Idaho. But against obviously the number one team in the country, you kind of have to stay with them or be up. You can't be down by 10, and that lead just keeps increasing. So, I mean, Adia was obviously right, but we kind of knew it. So we just had to prepare for next time not to get down that much.
Justin?
When did you think this game, or when did you realize this game was starting to lose from your fingers?
I don't know if there was a direct moment, but I think when you go minutes, 2 minutes without scoring and certain times like that, it gets hard, but then that's where we have to come together. I think we were able to come together a couple times and score a little bit more, but I mean, it kind of just a struggle. So we just try to take it one by one and score each point by each point, because we know not one shot's going to get a 20 point deficit.
I don't think we're ever out of the game, though. At the end of the day, we always have to fight. Even though the score looks like a certain way, we still have to fight no matter what. So I don't think we ever had a thought that the game was out of reach. But I mean, obviously we had a deficit that we had to come back from, but we never thought it was out of reach.
And a question for both of you. You said this was a learning experience overall. What was the biggest learning experience, or what do you take away from a game like this?
Definitely our boxing out. We got to work on that. They got too many offensive rebounds, and that led to, layups, fouls, or even 3-pointers. So that's something that we really need to focus on in practice going forward.
Yeah, and then I would also agree with Bendu, also boxing out, but then just learning what it takes to beat a number one team in the country. Obviously, we didn't beat them, but just knowing we have to work on the little things and being able to play 40 minutes of good basketball in order to beat them.
And, Oregon was a really tough team a year ago last year, and, consistently, a top 3 team. Do you see any similarities between last year's Oregon team and this year's Stanford team?
It's kind of hard to say just because Oregon and Stanford are so different. I think Stanford's more, obviously they have Tara, so they're more smart. They play you into how like they want you to score on offense. And I think Oregon's more of an offensive team. They're really like be able to get the pick and rolls, hit some threes. So, I mean, maybe we'll be able to see a little bit after we play Oregon if there's some similarities. But right now, Oregon's such a new team. And obviously, Stanford likes to say the same with their defense. So it's hard to tell.
Thank you.
EJ?
Yeah, neither of you have played a number one team. It hasn't come up that yet. What do you think separates a number one team or a top 3 team from the rest of the top 10? I mean, now you face Stanford, the top. What do you think makes them the elite of the elite?
I think they're able to go deep into the bench 1 through 12, which I think a lot of people are as well. But sometimes it's a little bit hard to put together 40 minutes of great basketball when you have different combinations. But I think Stanford does a great job of sticking to what they do, sticking their standard of being great on defense. And then I also think just being able to adjust. When you're playing really good teams, you can't stay in the same defense or run the same plays. You have to be able to mix and match. So I think that's one thing that really takes to be a number one team.
Yeah, I think that they're very disciplined. I've never played a game against a very disciplined team. They ran their offense through. Everybody knew we were on the same page. I don't think they ever were, rattled at any point. I mean, we had an early lead on them, but they didn't look like they were rattled. But yeah, that's definitely what I think separates them, is that they're very disciplined.
Ryan?
This question's for Sam. You guys play Cal on Sunday. Obviously, they beat you here last season. I'm just curious what you think about having a chance to play them on your home court again.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I was just kidding. Yeah, we definitely know that we just have to be ready. Any team can come in here and beat us, and especially we don't want to get beat on our home court. So I think we're really just going to take this time to try and focus on what we have to do, so then we're able to incorporate into the game against Cal and hopefully come back and end the weekend on a W.
Anything else?
Thank you.